Oh shit. Here we go again.
Here we are once again, ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary people, as we are days away from the first F1 2024 weekend. It is that time for me to be an annoying asshole once again about the Formula 1. Hello everyone, Liam Catterson here. And yeah, last year I did something that didn't have a precedence on my channel before, which was make predictions for the 2023 F1 season, which I think went really well. If, you know, I was hedging bets about Max Verstappen, so yeah, my predictions for the rest of, or for where everyone else ended up in the championship, should I say, yeah, could have done with a few touch-ups, so yeah, but you know, it's all part of the fun and whatnot, and I thought that I would do it again for the upcoming 2024 season. Preseason testing is done, and like I said, we are days away from the first F1 weekend for 2024. Like last year, I'll probably be doing a reaction video during the Christmas time at the end of the year. And, of course, this is accounting for all 20 official drivers on the grid. Of course, we could have another Nick DeVries situation like we did last year, where someone gets replaced midway through the season. But yeah, this is basically summarizing where the, I guess, official 20 drivers for the F1 2024 Championship will end up. And like last year, I'll be starting from the bottom to the top. So, with that said, why don't we get into the predictions for the 2024 season for Formula 1? Let's get on to who, in my mind, will finish last in the 2024 championship. And I've gone with Kevin Magnussen. It was difficult for me to determine who was going to finish last out of him and who I've picked for 19th place. But K-Mag didn't really fare too well last season. I was expecting a bit more from the Haas last season, to be fair. But when everything was said and done, K-Mag was only a few points ahead of Logan Sargent, so who I've picked for 19th. But we'll get onto that in a moment, of course. But he's there just for affirmation. But yeah, with Kevin, I'm not really confident about Haas, nor is the new team principal, Ayo Kamatsu. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Apologies, of course, if that's not how you pronounce it. But he's not too confident about Haas's chances. It's not looking too promising, of course, with preseason testing concluding. And yeah, I mean, like I said, with last season, I was expecting a bit more with the Haas, and they failed to deliver, and it's not looking as promising coming into the new season. And I do feel like this is going to be Kevin's last season in Formula 1, because I do have a feeling that he will be replaced, whether it's by Logan Sargent, because I feel like his seat in Williams is not secure, or whether it's by Ollie Behrman, potentially. I don't think Kevin Magnussen is going to be on. With Logan Sargent, I do expect a point, and that's probably it from Logan. In 18th, I've got Zhou Guanyu, who, again, last season and this season, it doesn't look promising for the Sauber team. I'm not naming them Steak, I'm not naming them Kick, the Sauber. But yeah, I was, you know, kind of hoping a bit more from Zhou Guanyu for the 2023 season. Sadly, failed to deliver. But yeah, he might have a bit of a better season, who knows? But I'm not, but again, like with the whole Magnussen and Sargent situation, I'm not expecting him to be on the grid for 2025. At least, I mean, when it comes to 2025, I expect Sauber to have a completely new lineup, because I feel like with 2025, they're going to go with Porsche and Carlos Sainz. We got 17th, Nico Hülkenberg. So yeah, I think he will continue to shine. He had the upper hand against his teammate Kevin Magnussen, yeah, he's going to try and muster as much as possible because, you know, he was doing pretty great in certain qualifying sessions in 2023, but I think the Haas car for 2024 is not going to be as good. Still, it won't stop Nico Hülkenberg from trying, and I feel like when all is said and done, he's still going to get the one-up on his teammate. In 16th, I've got Valtteri Bottas. Yeah, he's going to try and muster as much as possible with the Sauber. They're not going to look too promising. I feel like they're going to be in a fight with Williams, personally. Maybe Alpine, to be fair, because... you know, that's a car that's not looking too promising. But I do kind of have a idea that Alpine will try to improve their car probably into the second half of things, and they might be able to score a bit more points. But where we're starting off with the 2024 season, they're definitely going to be in a fight, in my opinion, with Williams and Alpine, and then maybe the occasion where Sauber will score a couple of points. And I feel like when it comes to Bottas versus Zhou Guanyu, I feel like Bottas, once again, like last season, is going to have the upper hand against Zhou Guanyu. In 15th, I've got Esti Besti, Esteban Ocon. So, yeah, it was a close fight between him and Pierre Gasly, although I feel like Pierre was showing on certain occasions to be the number one driver at Alpine. I'm starting to lose faith in Ocon, and not just that, though, but the Alpine car, you know, there's been a few people that have not been too optimistic with Alpine's performance in preseason testing. It might be the worst iteration under the Alpine name. I do expect and hope for their sake that they will bring significant upgrades that will bump them up the standings a bit. In 14th, I've got Alex Albon, who did pretty great last season. He scored a significant, 27 points for the Williams. So, yeah, he did pretty great. And I don't expect too much from Williams in terms of progressing up the order. But I do expect Alex to, again, like he did last season, to be the one that shines so much. He's definitely going to beat Sargent in my mind. And, you know, I feel like he's in a bit of a good place at the minute, especially since he's been rumored to be joining Ferrari, to be joining Mercedes, with that vacant Mercedes seat. Red Bull even though I wouldn't suggest it, because going back to your ex, not a good idea. But I feel like Alex is going to have another great season and continue to, you know, show Williams why he is a pretty great driver to be a part of, you know, their system. In 13th place, we've got Lance Stroll for Aston Martin, who, you know, this time last season, they took everyone by surprise by being the second best team next to Red Bull, which sadly they don't have that credit coming into the 2024 season. But they could still score a significant amount of points, though I expect Alonso again to be doing the majority of point scoring for this season. In 12th, we've got Pierre Gasly. Again, he, in my mind, is going to be the driver that shines the most in the Alpine. It won't be as close to his teammate than it was last season, especially since the Alpine is not looking too promising, as I've mentioned. But I feel like when the upgrades do come, and, you know, if Alpine do ascend up the order, Pierre is going to be there. I think he's still got a hell of a lot of talent in him, and I do expect him to, like I said, fingers crossed, if Alpine get their shit together, then it's gonna be Pierre that's gonna be scoring the majority of the points for the team. So in 11th, we've got, for the Visa Cash App Racing Minardi AlphaTauri team, or as a lot of people will simply refer them as the Racing Bulls, we've got Yuki Tsunoda. Yeah, I did him dirty last season in terms of predictions, which I'm not making that mistake again. Though I wasn't expecting too much from Yuki. Again, he proved me wrong. He proved that statement aged like milk. And Yuki's a really, really great driver, and I think that that's going to continue to shine. I think that, it's going to be a pretty positive season for the Racing Bulls. Maybe we might get a podium or two potentially down the line when, chaos potentially happens this season. But I expect Racing Bulls to have a really, really promising season. That's why as we move into our top 10, we've got Danny Rick. Now, like the Alpines, I expect there to be a close battle for both Racing Bull drivers between Ricciardo and Tsunoda. But Danny Rick, I feel like Danny Rick is going to fight tooth and nail to ensure, to have the Red Bull camp look at him and be like, okay, I am ready to rejoin the team. So, yeah. Because Liam Lawson has definitely got to come back, and of course they'll stick him in the Racing Bull alongside Yuki. But of course we're focusing on the 2024 season, so this is a very important season for Danny Rick to show that he is ready to replace Sergio Perez for the 2025 season. So we got in 9th Fernando Alonso, as I mentioned. With the Aston Martin, it doesn't have the advantage coming into the 2024 season of being the second best team like they did last season. But I still feel like Aston will have a lot of points being scored on the board when all is said and done. I don't think they're going to decline like they did last season, but they're going to be in a bit of a battle against the Racing Bulls, so that's going to be very, very tasty. I mean, it will be Alonso versus the two Racing Bulls. I don't expect Stroll to consistently fight the Racing Bulls, but Alonso's still got a lot of fight in him. He's like 40-odd, and he is, of course, being rumoured to be the one to potentially take the vacancy at Mercedes, which will probably come to fruition if Aston do not improve. I mean, like I said, I don't expect them to fall down the order like they did in the 2023 season. But if they do not, beat the McLarens, for example, because I feel like they're the 4th best team on the grid, that's probably going to influence Fernando's decision on if he wants to stay or go. And so we're moving on to the top 8 of things. We got Oscar Piastri in 8th, who did a very incredible job in the 2023 season, even in the first half when McLaren were not looking too great. And, their preseason testing for the 2024 season hasn't been too outstanding, but I'm not falling for any kind of shenanigans again. I firmly believe that McLaren, in the preseason testing, when the 3 days were concluded, they still had some really, really decent pace, and I think a lot of people are expecting them to fight Mercedes for this season. And I think Oscar's going to have a really, really great season. Again, he's a very, very amazing, talented driver. And I think the battle between him and who I've got in 7th, George Russell, is going to be very tight. For Russell, this is going to be a very important season because he's got to show to Mercedes that he is ready to be the team leader. And, I don't expect Mercedes to win this season again. But I do expect George to try to put up a bit of a fight. Of course, there were a few heartbreaking moments, like in Singapore for George in 2023, that he does not want to replicate again. I've got Lando Norris in 6th, and the battle between 6th to 8 could be very, very close. But I do expect Lando to shine this season. He showed amazing promise, especially coming into the second half of things when McLaren's package really, really shone at Silverstone. And I feel like, Norris, he's had a few seasons under his belt now. He's got a secure contract for McLaren for the foreseeable future. And I feel like the McLaren car, whilst it's not in it's not in the same position as it was last year, so that's given them a bit of a boost. Of course, there's a few, uncertainties with the McLaren, but a lot of people are not writing them off at the beginning of the season compared to 2023. I made that amateur mistake of thinking, well, McLaren are not going to be as great because their preseason testing was not ideal, but they rocked up at Silverstone, and from there on, they just absolutely were incredible. I expect quite a few podiums from him. Maybe, dare I say, a win? Probably not, because I expect us to hear the Dutch national anthem for like all 24 races at this point. But yeah, in fifth I've got Carlos Sainz for Ferrari. So yeah, I mean, Sainz had a really, I guess, great 2023 season. He got a victory. He was the only non-Red Bull winner to win in 2023. And, you know, last year the car suited him. It was more tailored to him. So, yeah, this year it's more, you know, catered towards Charles Leclerc. But I still expect... I think the car is able to satisfy both Leclerc and Sainz. Still, I do expect Sainz to help out as much as possible, I guess you could say, in the Ferrari. And yeah, I don't expect a victory to come his way this season, but I still expect a really promising season. I think the 2023 season is going to give him a bit of a boost, even if Leclerc did beat him overall in the championship standings for 2023. In fourth, we've got Lewis Hamilton. Again, I don't expect Mercedes to win, but I think, I don't know, the impression that I got from preseason testing is at least the car, you know, is, compared to the last few seasons we've had for Mercedes, where, you know, from 2022, it's just been a bit of a, you know, it's been a bit of a roller coaster for them. But the impression that I've got is Hamilton does have a bit of confidence in the car, but it's still not going to be enough. And I feel like this is going to be a bit of a challenging season again for Mercedes. Maybe a bit better, of course. Things, you know, was ultimately great in the end, with him finishing third. He was the lead non-Red Bull driver in the championship. And I expect him to have a very promising, you know, given the fact that Mercedes might not win this year, I still expect him to have a promising season. So, and to end his reign, I guess, in Mercedes on a high. So, yeah, it's still weird that he's going to be joining Ferrari, and I'm here for it. In third, now, this is going to get very interesting. I've got Sergio Perez. Now, don't get me wrong, the Red Bull looks scary in terms of how dominant it could be. However, Sergio wasn't exactly performing, like, I mean, the first 5 races he was doing pretty neat. And then, you know, things started to decline in terms of his performance. I think that Sergio might have a bit of a better, you know, season than he did in 2023. But it's not going to be a significant improvement. And I feel like, especially with how neat the Ferrari is, he's going to be challenging Charles quite a bit, and Charles is going to get the upper hand. And that's who I've got in second. I know last year I think I did put him in second. And, you know, that was complete hopium. This year, things are looking a bit more promising. He does not look like he's going to murder Mattia Binotto this year. So, and I know Fred was the team principal in the 2023 season, but of course the 2023 car was built when Binotto was in charge. So yeah, but he was not happy in preseason testing in 2023. This year, it looks a bit better, and Ferrari are showing very promising signs. And, you know, that gives me a bit of confidence. Of course, it's still going to be depressing, which we'll get onto in a moment, but I do have a bit more hope that Charles is going to have a bit of a better season. The car is going to be more suited to him this year, and you know, that's going to put Charles in a very good position. So, and not just that though, and this might age like milk, but preseason testing seems to indicate that their tire deck situation is not going to be as much of a hindrance as it has been for these last few seasons, which is great because, of course, that's been an Achilles heel. They've got a decent car overall. So I have hope that Charles is going to, you know, have a great season. Maybe get a few wins. Hopefully. I want to hear the Monegasque national anthem, please. Come on. And that gives us the world champion of 2024.
Leave me alone!
We all know. We all know it's something we have to, we want to delude ourselves. I want to delude myself. I want Charles Leclerc to be the 2024 world champion. Sadly, unless that Red Bull has a lot of reliability issues, and I say that because Sergio's car in preseason testing, had a bit of a reliability issue, but that's unless that becomes a bit more problematic like it was in the beginning of 2022, or unless Max gets disqualified like Schumacher in 1997, there's no hope. There is no hope. It's going to be, another season where we're going to hear the Dutch national anthem a billion times, and I will be pushing myself further to leap out the window headfirst. There are some teams out there that think that it's a second ahead. GP was giving off Hannibal Lecter vibes with the psychotic smile that he had in what was it, the Wednesday preseason testing. That just gave everyone shivers about, this Red Bull is absolutely gonna dominate. And if you thought the 2023 season was bad in terms of dominance, I fear it's going to be no different. In fact, maybe even worse in 2024. Now, I don't believe he's going to win every race. I hope not, because I will fling myself out the window. But I don't believe it's going to happen. What I do believe is that we're going to have season 2 of the Max Verstappen podcast. So, oh man, I just don't want it to happen, but we may as well give him the championship trophy just with how, just with how great he looks, and he's not phased whatsoever. Even when he wasn't fastest in the preseason testing and all of that, of course, a lot of people were saying they were running in low engine mode, and they had a lot of fuel on the car, and they still did decent. And I'm just not ready for it. So that's your 4-time world champion, Max Verstappen. Max wins, lol. And I've got the constructors, as I mentioned. I was wanting to do them because I didn't do them last year, but I thought, well, I may as well see if I will fare better predicting the constructors for the 2024 season. So I've got 10th Haas, like I said, terrible seasoning coming for them, and they're not going to have a positive day, I imagine. 9th, I've got Sauber. 8th, I've got Williams, primarily because I feel like Alex is going to be the one carrying the workload. No offense, Logan, but when you've got in 7th Alpine with Gasly and Ocon, their joint efforts are going to help push them ahead of Williams. In 6th, I've got the Racing Bulls, or Visa Cash App, whatever you want to call them. 5th, Aston Martin. 4th, McLaren. 3rd, Mercedes. 2nd, Ferrari. 1st, Max Verstappen. So those are my predictions. Like I said, when it comes to Christmas, I'll surely be reacting to them and seeing, like I said, which predictions will age like milk. I'm sure there are quite a few predictions that are going to age badly, but yeah, I'm really hoping the first one ages badly, but hopium, right? Anyways, I will see you guys next time. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys take good care of yourselves, and let's hope for at least a semi-exciting 2024 F1 season. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Toodles!